Good evening, everyone. This is Ari Kopel with Shattering the Matrix. Tonight, my guest is Monai Gregg Stephens again. We're doing part two of What's Eating Our Children, which is what I labeled our last show. And unfortunately, this is a never-ending and very important topic, especially the fact that, when we understand what's happening behind the scenes, we'll understand what's happening in the world today, unfortunately. So for those of you who did not see part one, I'm just going to briefly introduce Monai to you. Monai is also known, just so you know, as Divine Naga. She's an ascension guide, spiritpreneur, and New Earth ambassador.
Mhm.
She awakened out of the illusion around like 2012 after being a dedicated and devout Christian for almost 10 years before some divinely orchestrated events in her church opened her eyes to the deception going on at every level. Those turn of events caused Monai to step away and take a 6-month hiatus away from her church and church family, never knowing that this would be the catalyst that would lead her into the dark night of the soul while taking her down many rabbit holes that would eventually lead into her spiritual awakening. So since then, it has been Monai's calling and divine mission to expose and bring light to the evils of this matrix, help awaken the sleeping light workers, light warriors, and star seeds to prepare them for ascension. Monai is here to share some of her discoveries along the way and give some possible and practical solutions for how humanity can get free from the traps and avoid some of the tricks that cause us to forfeit our freedom and lose our salvation. So, Monai, thank you again for joining me in this endeavor of trying to expose this evil and trying to change things around, hopefully, for the better for humanity. How are
Yes,
you?
absolutely. I'm great, and thank you so much for having me. It's an honor to be here doing this work with you. So I'm so excited, and I'm excited for the ones that we will connect with that will also join in this mission to help get this work done because it's very important, especially right now.
Absolutely, yeah, absolutely. And just so you know, our last show, our first, and the one we
Right.
did before, oh my
Yes.
gosh, through the roof. I mean, the comments are so positive. The amount of
Hmm.
viewership is unbelievable. You really hit home with the message. A lot of people resonate with that. So
Hmm.
tonight, I'd like to explore more in depth. Okay,
Yes.
go into what this whole paradigm, why this paradigm is in place right now, what people are experiencing,
Hmm.
and what's holding it in place, and why the abortion situation that's happening on the planet, why this push for it is so important and critical in keeping this negative, evil paradigm in place on planet Earth right now. So, can you share a little bit more or as much as you can about this topic about abortion?
Absolutely. The abortion is just one aspect of it. It's one of the more important points. However, the last time we spoke, I think we ended the show on with me saying that what's about to take place is going to help awaken humanity because, in a sense, humanity's heart, the heart of society, our hearts have been hardened, blackened to the point to where when you discuss these things with certain individuals, it's almost as if, like we discussed before, cognitive dissonance. If
Hmm.
it's not happening to someone they know or someone they care about, it's not their business and they go on with their life. But this is something, when we turn a blind eye to our the most innocent of our society, of humanity being harmed and abused, when we turn a blind eye to that, something has to take place in order to put us back to where we need to be. So when I mention something is about to happen that's going to awaken humanity to what's going on, when you pay attention to what's happening on the world stage right now, overseas, if you pay attention to the news, I know some people don't look at the news, but I look at it just to see what lies they're telling to everyone. But they make a point to tell you exactly how they're abusing the children. They make a point to show you the children uh,
Yep.
bloodied. They show you these scenes. I pay attention to that.
Good point.
Because right, they tell you. Even I saw I can't remember what his name was, but he said babies are being beheaded. He said this on television. So what's about to happen is humanity is going to come face to face with that evil. They have to. Now, Ari, last night I was in meditation, so I'm going to take it in another direction. You and I haven't discussed this, but I feel that it's very important because it does speak to the abortion and everything else that's happening. Because, like I said, that's just one aspect of it. I was preparing myself for today, and I was like, I need, what can I lead off with? And what was given to me was, first of all, we have to understand or understand that this system is not a system that we can take down. We can't take down the system. And so I'm about to say something that many people they may have never heard it before, but I want you to be open to what I'm going to say because it's similar to what Yeshua was trying to share with humanity, and they missed it. This system that's in place is a system that we cannot change because that would be us trying to go externally and change something. We have to make the change from within. So what do I mean by that? When Yeshua was with the Essenes, one of the things he taught was that it was important for us to live in harmony with the laws of nature. This is now going to touch on universal law, natural law, divine law. That is something that has been hidden from humanity. And most people have no idea how universal law operates. And so what happens is we do things that get us over into what people know as karma, but it's the law of cause and effect, the universal law of cause and effect, or the law of reciprocity. Okay, so when we don't know that certain actions and certain things that we do put us in violation of that law, then what happens is it opens us up for these attacks from the enemy. Does that make sense?
Yeah, absolutely.
Right. It opens us up for attacks. So one of the things that I was shown, and this was years ago when I was searching, I was just coming out of religion. I was searching for the truth. And I remember coming across the true teachings of Yeshua. When you go and you find the gospel of is it the gospel of peace by the Essenes, and you start digging into those truths that they taught, you'll find that there is a way that you live in harmony with nature that puts you under protection, puts you under a protection. In other words, what this beast is doing has always been done, and it will always be done as long as we're in violation of the law. As long as we don't know what the law is, it gives them a right to do these things.
That's powerful.
Following me so far? Right. That's exactly what happened. So if we were to go out, because I know you and I had discussed, we were like, we're going to go out there and we have to stop this. We have to put a stop to this. But you have to understand that the system of the matrix, the negative matrix, is a system that is in place. And what happens is when you do not know the rules, then this will be a prison planet. Once you know the rules, it can become your own paradise because now you can make changes happen here. But as long as you don't know, you're a slave to the matrix. You're a slave to these parasites. And it's as if, you're not in control of anything that happens to you. So what's happening now is because humanity is in violation of universal natural law, it makes it to where we're sitting ducks. They can by law literally come and eat our children. They can do all of these things. They can eat us because we are in violation of the law. So I'm going to go a little bit deeper because when I was first given this revelation, I got it through my heart. And that's one of the things that is all that I think everyone also needs to understand is that we were locked down here in this prison planet in a hell realm, which is a negative third dimensional realm. Souls aren't even supposed to be down this far, but we were tricked into physical bodies. The DNA is a soul cage. We were tricked into these bodies down here. And so now we're in a perpetual recycle program where the souls can never get out. Now, since we were tricked through our physical vessel, in order for you to get out, you have to do inner work. It has to be done from inward. There's a lot of things that have to take place in order for you to free yourself. And I will say this, it's something that's done quietly, because once you get the revelation, once it makes sense to you that you have to, compassion is the key. This is what I was shown. Let me just tell you how it was given to me. And if I'm babbling or if I start
Oh
rambling,
no.
please forgive me, because when they give me information, they give it to me through the heart. It's not in words. So sometimes it's hard
Exactly.
for me to, you've had that experience,
Oh my
right?
goodness, of course. Go. So you've got the floor. You got the
Right.
floor.
Thank you.
You're
It
welcome.
happens through the heart. So sometimes it's difficult for me to articulate. So if I start babbling, please forgive me. I'm going to get to the point.
Yeah.
Um, they showed me a picture of Earth. Now, whether you're a flat Earth believer, a round Earth believer, that's not the point. They showed me a picture of Hyperborea, and I can go real deep with this, but I'm gonna try to keep it so everybody can understand. If you've ever seen an old map of Hyperborea, what it shows is how the plane is set up, and it has all these different pieces of land, but it's broken up into 4 sections. And in the middle, in the very middle, I guess that would have been the tree of life that they cut down. The tree of life is in the middle. But I was told that that is how you get out of here, even though this is the womb is considered the womb. This is where souls are born. So you're almost like a diamond. You have to be pressed. You have to be put through tribulations in order to develop your light. But how you get out of here, they were showing me through the middle. So, we have an ice wall, right?
Mm-hmm.
You know
Yes.
how they're talking about the ice wall. You can't escape. You can't get out, because the only way out is through the middle. Then they showed me a picture of the heart. If you look at the heart is an exact replica of Hyperborea, with that center. It has the four chambers of the
Mm-hmm.
heart. It looks just like Hyperborea, because earth and heart, it's the anagram, earth and heart.
Sure.
So what they were showing me is that it is the compassion that you have to develop. Compassion, that's how you get out of here, through your heart. Okay, so I'm leading up to this point. This is where I got a lot of pushback from a lot of people. And at one point in time, I would argue back and forth. I felt like it was my job to convince them of what I was being told, because I knew how powerful it was, and I knew that it would free you once you got the revelation of it. And I was not prepared for the amount of people that wanted to argue and debate the matter. And my highest guidance pulled me back and said, when you run across individuals that push against that wisdom, do not argue with them, because that is something that they have to, they have to realize it. They have to realize it, and it's done through the heart. So the point was this: there are people who still eat meat, and there's a debate out there. They go back and forth. I don't take part in those debates, but the way it was put to me was, one of the tricks that keeps this enemy in power is that they've convinced us that we're at the top of the food chain, and we're not. We're not at the top of the food chain. There's another entity, another beast, another creature here that is higher than us. And the same way that we look at chickens, pigs, cows as food, they look at us in that way, like cattle. They look at us as a product, something to consume. So when I would get into these arguments and debates with people, and they would try to give me every reason to continue eating meat, I was thinking to myself, if you have to convince yourself, yes, it's not time, because the way it made sense to me was the same way a cow loves their offspring is the same way we love our offspring. And so, in order for people to come to, again, a realization of exactly what's going on, they're going to have to see how this beast is treating our babies. And then it will make sense on the level of animals. Because when we say all life matters, right? Remember when everybody was saying all life matters, and then we had these debates, was it black lives? Was it white lives?
Right.
Who lives matters? Do the babies' lives matter? And so all lives. And so universal law and principle teaches all life is sacred.
Exactly.
And it also teaches do unto others, and it doesn't specify humans. Do unto others as you would have them do unto you. That's the golden rule, right?
Yep.
So that's something that people are going to have to sit with, because again, it comes down to compassion. The way out is through your heart. And if you can eat one being, then you can't turn around and point the finger at another being and say, well, you can't eat our kids, because they'll turn around and say, but you're eating the cow's kids.
That's right.
You're eating the pig's kids. So you can't, you can't point the finger at us when you're doing the exact same thing.
Yep.
And so, like I said, a lot of people get to that point and they want to argue, and I can't argue about it. All I can do is leave you with that, because when you go and you start looking back into what the Essenes and Yeshua taught, Yeshua actually said, and this was in, I believe, the book of Thomas, he said, for I tell you truly, he who kills, kills himself. And he who eats the flesh of the slain beast eats the body of death. And the flesh of the slain beast in his body will become his own tomb. So he was actually against flesh eating. They called it flesh eating. No flesh eating, because what that actually does is it literally brings you from up under the protective covering of universal law. Once you stop eating meat, and then of course there are other things that you need to do. You need to detox, because again, Yeshua taught about he taught about demons, right?
Right.
And what people fail to realize is the demons were parasites. That is literally what he was talking about, because this entity affects us on all levels. We're triune men, so we're mind, body, spirit, right? This entity is on every level. So when you seek to free yourself from this system of control, you have to hit it from all 3 points.
Absolutely.
You have to do that. And so when I initially was given this information, and when I speak about, you'll notice that I'll say, they told me, they did this. Some people used to accuse me of seeking information from spirits. No, this is my highest selves, because we're multidimensional. So,
exactly.
Right, it's they when they came to me, and some people, it's the Ruach Hakodesh, depending on what level you're on, but it's you. It's your God self, your source self. So when I tapped into that, they've never steered me wrong. And they gave me an entire protocol, because I was actually trying to heal myself. They gave me an entire protocol that touched mind, body, and spirit. Because even when you look at, how you hear there are individuals out here in what is it called? The sovereign movement. That movement, there's certain things that you have to do, and you have to move in wisdom, and you cannot be loud about it, because if this isn't, you can't go and say, hey everybody, I figured out how to get free and I'm going to tell everybody how to do it. You know why? Because getting out is an individual thing. Getting out of this system is an individual thing, because it has to be done internally. You have to have a change of your mind, you have to have a change of spirit, and you have to change your body, which that's where the detoxing and all of that comes in. You have to do all of that. And for the most part, it's something that is done privately. It's a sacred work. It's something that's done privately, because again, the system is in place, and whether people choose to believe it or not, the system that is in place that we know that seems nefarious, it actually has it's beneficial, because everything works for the light. Regardless of how you look at it, it can be, you can determine negative or positive, evil or good. We're in a duality down here. But outside of this realm, duality does not exist. So everything works for the light. So what I'm saying is, when we are in here, we have taken on ways of the beast. And because we were born in this system, we can't see it because we're in it.
That's right.
You don't see it until you start making changes and you start doing the internal work, the shadow work, the ego work. Because Yeshua said, when he said the two must become one, and that has dual meanings. But when he said the two becomes one, it's when the carnal mind, the carnal ego mind, right? And the spiritual sacred heart come together. Because see, when I'm discussing with people about what you need to do and the work that you need to do, a lot of times the carnal mind taps in. This is exactly what Yeshua ran into when he started telling people, you can do these things, you have to do the work, you can do this, that, and the other. And the people didn't want to hear that. They wanted to be able to put all their cares upon Jesus' back and just accept salvation, and with the promise that they're getting to heaven. They didn't want to do any internal work.
Exactly. Yeah.
And I find that today you find the same thing. People don't want to do work. If you tell them, okay, you're going to have to, let go of this, let go of that, let go of this, they'll go and find a teacher that'll tell them the opposite. I've experienced it so many times. And at that point, I have to say, well, apparently you're not ready. I don't know what level your soul is on, but you can stay here as long as you want and keep coming back in this recycles. You can until you
Yeah.
until you get it
Mm-hmm.
down in your heart that these things are happening to you. These things will continue to happen to your children until you tap into the compassion, until the carnal mind meets the heart, until they come together and you realize that we're all one. What you do to one, you do to the next. You
Exactly
do to
that.
another.
Oof.
So
100 million% there, Monai. Wow.
yeah, so I mean, for it to come down to something as simple as that, like I said, if the words that I just spoke don't touch you in the heart, go pull up the Essene teachings and just dig and ask your spirit to guide you. Because before I came into this meeting, I went and set an intention because I wanted my words to be powerful and I wanted them to hit the right people, the ones who were ready, and I wanted it to hit you in the heart. Because I know, see, at one point in time, I'm not pointing fingers at anybody saying, as if I haven't done that. At one point in time, of course, I ate meat. We were raised up on it.
Mm-hmm.
When I was shown the things I was shown, I could not. I mean, it was like cold turkey. No pun intended, but it was cold turkey. I quit immediately.
Yeah.
I had to quit immediately because I found out that the same things they do to the animals, they're doing to the children.
Yeah.
I sent you a list, Ari, yesterday. We haven't had a chance to discuss it, but it's a list that I think is going around now. People are being able to see that they actually had a hunting list for
Mm-hmm.
children. I did not see anyone on that list that was under 12.
Yep.
They had the blood types on there because they needed to be able to torture them within inches of their lives so they could extract as much adrenochrome, strong adrenochrome, as they could. So the same things that they do to our children, they do to the animals, because I was shown, not to get too graphic, but I was shown how they process animals. And the way they keep the animals, is horrible. That's a terrible existence. And then the way they slaughter the animals is a terrible way to die. So you have some people who will think, well, you don't want to eat that adrenaline that's running through the animal, that's fear. That's one stage. Yeah, I get that. But at the same time, that animal suffered.
Oh, yeah.
The animal suffered so that you could have, a Angus steak or an Angus burger or something like that. The same thing they do to our babies. So if you don't want it to happen to you, if you don't want it to happen to your children, you have to stop taking part in that system that does it to the animals. And that's the first way to free yourself.
I'm speechless. The thing is that this is all stuff that a lot of us know
Mm-hmm.
intellectually, a lot of us
Mm-hmm.
in some sort of a level, right? That we
Yes.
understand these things.
Yes.
The other thing is to embrace it and then internalize it and actually practice it.
Right.
And because of where we are in the
Mm-hmm.
timeline of things,
Mm-hmm.
I think people really need to start paying attention to this and really seriously consider what you're saying, because it comes from such a high level of spiritual inspiration and knowledge
Mm-hmm.
that, a person who is in tune and is in
Yes.
the know will
Mm-hmm.
receive this not only, in the heart, in their soul, that everywhere. I mean, it's like you light up. It's
Right.
like, oh my God, this is the truth. She's speaking the truth.
Hmm.
Yeah. So, I mean, holy cow. Thank you so much for bringing
You're
that up.
welcome. You're welcome. And that came to me last night because, like I said, I was in what I guess what I would call meditation. I was cleaning, and I was saying, "Oh my goodness!" I started panicking. I do that before every every interview anyway. I started
Wait. So,
panicking.
so do I. So do I, just so
Yes.
you know.
And I said, well, I don't know what I'm going to talk about. What am I going to lead off with? But I haven't even looked at my paper. I jotted down notes. I haven't looked at my paper except to read off what Yeshua said, that scripture,
Hmm.
because it was given to me so pure and clear. It was like you already know what you need to say
Hmm.
because we've been training you since 2013, 14. We've been training you for this. So,
Well,
it's that time.
you've been trained before this. You've been trained
Before
before
that,
2012, between
yes.
2013, before that, before you even came here, you're one of those special beings that are very much needed in the planet right now. We just need to clone you.
Thank
Unfortunately, that's
you.
a bad word, but it's a bad word these days. But it's like we need to copy
Duplicate,
you,
replicate.
duplicate. Yes,
Yes.
yes. We need to inspire more people like you so that they can go out in the world and then repeat what you're saying, you know.
Hmm.
But yes, you're absolutely right. And this is something that I've known for a long time is that, it's like when you're eating a piece of meat, and it's like, oh my gosh, it's like
Hmm.
this
Something had to lose its
something
life.
had to lose its life. And
Right,
and I'm sure because I mean, if you really look at animals, and a lot of us have pets, I
right,
mean, we can't say that our pets are not intelligent. They're very intelligent
right.
and they feel. They have this emotional level that maybe it's
Yes.
not like we express, but they
Hmm.
express it in their own way. And they mourn. They mourn
Exactly.
also.
They
And
do.
so, yeah, so when we're eating a baby or, like,
Hmm.
veal or whatever,
Right.
even a friend of theirs in,
That's right.
in a slaughterhouse, I mean, that happens. They
Hmm.
do go through mourning. So, yeah, we have to be very cognizant of this. So, I'm sorry to interrupt you. So go ahead. You have the floor.
Oh no, no, you were okay. I was gonna say to that point, yeah, when we look at our own animals, but I was on vacation and I went down to meet someone who had just opened a vegan restaurant. And so we were standing around talking to him, and well, actually, he was talking to somebody else, and I was listening in. And what he was saying is he ate meat all his life, but I think his son wanted a baby pig, like a piglet, and so he had a piglet around, and they had it as a pet. And what he said is, I was amazed at how much smarter the pig was than our dogs that they had. He said, like, the pigs almost had a type of humanness to them. Now, I had heard that before because
Hmm.
on this level, I know that you've heard that pigs are spliced between the
Hmm.
wild boar and humans
Yep.
and a human,
Yep.
and they do that on purpose because it's a degree of high magic. This is witchcraft that they practice on us. This is one of the reasons why pig and pork is in absolutely everything. There's no reason why pork should be in paint that you paint on your walls, because this is high magic and
Exactly.
witchcraft that they're practicing, and it keeps us under a curse and a spell. It's in
Exactly.
absolutely everything.
Totally. Now
Yes.
you've heard, of course, I'm assuming because you're speaking this way. A lot of
Hmm.
people don't know. I'm not even aware of what you're speaking about right now about the pig.
Right.
But to take it a little bit further, now you've heard it. It is a splice. There is human DNA
Yes.
somehow.
Right.
As to there's a lot of what do you call that, chimeras that they're doing,
Right.
crossing with that you will have a pig that's got a human face or vice versa.
Hmm.
So that when a person eats bacon, let's give you an
Right.
example, they're
Yes.
eating something very similar to human flesh.
To
And a lot of
human flesh.
and a lot of people are saying that eating human flesh is very similar to the taste of pig or bacon or of whatever.
Absolutely.
So yes, it's like you said, it's to keep us in that under that spell, where
Hmm.
we're under witchcraft, and of course, again, holding this whole paradigm together. So,
Right.
did you want to explore that further? Or
Sure. I was just having that conversation, as a matter of
Mhm.
fact, with my son the other day. And I think I had let him hear, and your audience can go and look it up if they're not familiar with it. Look up the Secret Covenant. Um, I was telling him about sugar, but it went into the pig and the bacon because I remember, and I can't remember what year it was, but it was like they were putting bacon on everything. They were
Yep.
pushing bacon so hard. It was bacon jam, it was bacon ice cream, it was bacon this, bacon that. And that was my first, I guess, inclination that something else was going on because I was like, this beast wouldn't push something that's good for us. So there has to be something nefarious. There has to be a nefarious agenda behind it. At that time, I hadn't been given, I hadn't heard about the splicing of the pig with humans. But I told my son, I said, what I came across was the way people love bacon, the way people love pork. When we go through a famine, right? This is on a whole nother level. But when the famine happens for some individuals, that is literally the thing that is going to turn them into ravenous beasts. And here's another thing I want to touch on really quick too. Something that I was told, and people may not agree with it, but it was what I was told, so I believe it because I was given, I was
Yeah.
it was given straight into my heart.
Yeah.
But I was told that everybody thinks that the mark of the beast is a chip, a implant, a vaccination. The mark of the beast is actually eating meat. That is the mark of the beast. Because touching back onto how they splice it, and it's a chimera. What I was shown is that when we eat DNA of another sentient being, we ourselves become chimera.
True.
We become chimera. It changes our DNA to the point to where our frequency, this is how our frequency and vibration stay so low,
100
low to the
million.
point, right? That's why because we eat it, we become a chimera. And they were telling me, we can't even recognize you all. You're supposed to have a bright frequency. And when they say bright, they mean like a loud frequency in the ethers. We ring out, like we have all these different organs in our bodies. And when our organs are cleaned out properly, we all have our own unique sound. And when we are all in tune and in harmony, we play like a symphony. And they were telling me, they said, we can't even recognize your sound, your frequency, because you're not who you are supposed to be. Through the stuff that you're eating, the vaccinations, all of these different things have literally turned you into a beast, into a chimera.
Wow.
So this is why you have to do the work. The detoxing is so important. It's as important as stopping eating the meat. When I was given the protocol, the first thing that they said was detox first. Don't stop eating the meat first. Detox first, because what will happen if you do it in reverse, you'll try to white knuckle through it. You won't be able to because you literally have parasites in your body that crave the
Yep.
meat. And when you have parasites in your body, they connect then through the mind or through the brain, the gut. What is it? The brain, the heart, and the gut. The brain, the heart, and the gut, and they connect in through your central nervous system. So it's almost like a hostile takeover.
It
This
is.
is literally demonic possession when parasites take over and you get to the place to where you think your thoughts are yours, but they're not. You think your
Exactly.
cravings are yours, but they're not. So the way I was told to do it is you need to detox first, because once you begin to detox the parasites out, then you have a little bit more control over what you eat. But most people try to just quit eating meat, and within months they find themselves back to it, getting up in the middle of the night craving a burger. That's not you. That's still your parasites, your demons, so to speak.
It's so true. Yeah. Yeah. They're like little antennas, so,
Yeah,
little openings,
absolutely.
little doorways to allow the attachments of all these
Mm-hmm.
entities and whatnot. Yeah, you're 100 million% there, boy. I tell you, I am totally like in shock in a good way
Right.
that very very much in shock in a good way that you're bringing this up, because here I am thinking I'm going to be talking about something different,
Right.
and you're coming in through the back door with this
Right.
information.
That's why I said I didn't even, and I think it was done that way on purpose
Yeah.
because I got the download like last night. So we didn't even have a chance to speak again, to discuss it. So I was like, I'm
Oh
I'm
no,
coming from the
that's
left field now, but it's gonna tie in with everything else.
Yeah, that's the way to do it, especially when you're called to speak about
Right,
something that, you know what I mean? It's not in the mind, because we're intellectualizing, well, this is what we need to speak about, yet
right,
spirit is telling you, oh, no, 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 this is what you need to speak about. So
right,
I love
right.
it. I love it. So what do you say to those people who have children, right?
Hmm.
Because a lot of the I guess the rhetoric is that children need protein.
Right.
And they obviously, because they're developing and they need their organs to develop, their brain to develop, and so we need to eat flesh.
Hmm.
Um, there's another, along with that, there's another side of this whole story that says, human bodies really do require protein of this type. That
Hmm.
a lot of people tend to get sick when they're just in a vegan, vegetarian type of diet. What is your knowing about how to address that?
Okay, so how I would address that is, again, I have to refer people back to the Essene teachings. If you look up the Essene diet will tell you how to go about all of that. And it's a little, I mean, it's different because we weren't raised in there. We were raised in a beast system with beast ways. So when you look at the Essene teachings, they literally show you that Mother Earth has provided everything for you. Your babies, everything is provided. Whether you find that sustenance through beans, different beans. I know lentils has an astounding amount of protein.
Hmm.
Lentils. They'll tell you to feed your children the Ezekiel bread. And so, yeah, we may have to go back to doing, no, not may, we will. I think I said this in our first interview where I said, I was told we have to go back in order to move
That's
forward.
right.
So that means we have to go back to some of the old ways. You're going to have to get in there, probably make some bread. You're going to have to get in there. You're going to have to first do your own research. And I suggest asking for guidance. And that's one of the things that a lot of people fail to do. They'll get on Facebook and ask their Facebook friends or their family before they ask their highest selves.
Amen.
Your highest guidance is literally sitting there waiting for you to give them permission to help guide you through this. And I use it like this. This is the analogy. You are like an avatar. If we looked at this as a game with different levels, you are the avatar that's in the video game. It's your job to connect back to the actual controller, the one who's controlling, because they can see what's coming before you. They can see around corners. You can't see it down on this level. So your job is to connect back to your highest guidance, because that is your literal spiritual GPS system. Connect
I
back,
love
ask
it.
questions, ask questions, and you will be
It's perfect.
surprised. Right, you will be surprised the answers that you get, especially when you're seeking with a pure heart, a sincere heart. You don't want to eat meat. So you know what you do? You ask for help. I used to smoke cigarettes. This was years ago, years. I'm talking about back. I was like very young, 18. And I asked for the taste to be taken out my mouth.
Hmm.
For the taste to be taken out my mouth, because it wasn't that I was addicted. In my mind, I rationalized. I was like, I'm not addicted because I don't smoke at work. I just do it at the privacy of my home. But when it came down to me wanting to quit, I found myself going back. And so I asked, take the taste out of my mouth. I kid you not. I went on a fast, a 21-day Daniel fast, as a matter of fact. And when I came off of that fast, I tried to go back to smoking cigarettes. And each and every time, as soon as I would take a pull, tar would be in my mouth, like tar. And I had never experienced that. And so I was like, well, maybe it's just that one. I got another one. Same thing happened. I said, well, maybe it's just that pack. This is me still trying. Let me go get another pack. And the same thing kept happening until I realized what I had asked for, I had received. The taste was literally taken out my mouth because I was getting tar in my mouth. It was horrible. It was like a medicinal, it was disgusting.
It was a shock to your
It was a
mouth.
shock.
Hmm.
Yes. And I never had the urge. I never had the desire. It was removed like that. So I'm saying that to say, take the time to ask with a sincere heart when you want something. Stop getting on Facebook and asking other people questions. Those people don't know you. Your highest self knows you. That's who can tell you what's perfect for you, how you need to do it, if there's a specific way for it to be done. That's who can give you the answers. Even when I was doing the teaching, and I was telling people, I said, I'm not here for the masses. I'm not here for everybody. I'm speaking to a specific group of people that's ready to graduate out of here, because I have a protocol that you're going to need to follow. And when you hear my words, they will hit you in the heart, and you will know that I'm speaking truth. Everybody else will want to argue and debate. You'll know what to do. And when I give you the instructions, you will execute them with precision. And that's exactly what they did. So there are things, but I told them, I'm not your final authority, though. Everything that I tell you, I want you to go back and I want you to filter it through your spirit, filter it through your highest guidance, because this is not it's not like a cookie cutter regimen. It's going to be different for each individual. Like, there are basic things, like I can tell everybody, you need a detox, you need to do this, you need to do that. But even in my situation was slightly different because of my blood type. And I'm going to get back on the point. I'm sorry, I went on a little
Oh,
tangent.
no, this is perfect.
I had to do something different because I had literally been poisoned by my doctor. We'll talk about that on another interview. But I had been poisoned because of my blood type. For my blood type, I could not have iron because they gave me an iron IV, and I sat there for 3 hours while they pumped that into my body. After that, my tongue started peeling off. My hair fell out. I had rashes all over my body. It was terrible. And it took a moment for my highest self, my highest guidance to tell me, you have been poisoned. Okay, we're going to tell you what to do. And that's literally where that protocol, the detoxing and all that, that's where it came from, because I had to heal myself first. So once I healed myself, then I had to turn around and share that information with the ones who are ready, because that is literally how you get out of here.
That's amazing.
So
Yeah, go ahead. Go ahead.
No, I was just going to say, I didn't want to go off on that tangent, because the initial question you asked was, about your children. Now, even my son, I think when I first came across this information, and I knew that it was vital that we stop eating meat, because I knew that what was eventually coming, what was going to happen to the planet, I could not be in that space. And in order to get us out of that, the first thing was going to be to stop eating meat. But it was around the time that my son, he was still a little guy, but he had grown accustomed to eating shrimp and pork, and, it was his favorite.
Sure.
So he gave me the biggest hassle, because he didn't understand, why can't we have shrimp? Why can't we have this, that, and the other? So I have become very, very good at making comfort meals, at utilizing the things that we have, so my son doesn't feel like we're being deprived. So through the years, I've been able to tweak our menu, so we're not eating any meat, but he done missed it. So those are things, again, that when you tap into your highest guidance and you ask for guidance, you ask for help with it, you will begin to see things that will just come into your reality, and you'll be like, wow, that's perfect. I can add this and I can add that. And because, again, it's benevolent. The divines want us to live under universal law and principle. We've just been separated from it. This is what keeps us in the separation. So they're willing to help you. You won't have to beg for help. You won't have to beg. They'll come and they'll bring you in. And the way it happens to me, it may happen different for other people, but things pop up on my YouTube. Like the very thing that I need an answer to will pop up on my YouTube. Or I'll hear somebody else talking, and they'll be talking about the very thing that I'm waiting to get an answer on.
Absolutely. That's amazing how that happens, huh?
Isn't it? And, the first few times it happened, I was like, okay, is that a coincidence? Am I imagining this? And after a while, you begin to understand that you have help. You have help. You don't have to do it by yourself and try to figure it out and suffer in this system, which goes back to, this can be a prison planet, or it can be your prison, or it can be your paradise. When you don't know the rules of the game, then you're just drug along. Happenstance, things just happen to you. But when you learn the rules of the game, and you learn how to manifest things, you learn how to create your reality. Some of us, we just speak the words, but we don't know how to walk it out.
Yeah.
But when you begin to learn the rules, and like I said, those first rules, the universal law and principles, when you learn and you learn how to apply that, how that looks in your physical life, like how to do those things in your physical life, then you start to walk it out. And that's how you walk in your divine sovereignty. You have to walk in it. You can't just talk about it. There are people who just talk about it and they think their world is going to change just because they know the truth and they just talk about it. No, you have to do it, because that is what brings the change. That's how you develop your heart light. That's how you develop your light. It's your heart. And that is what changes your DNA. Compassion, doing compassion works. I used to tell the people that I was mentoring at the time, I would tell them, I said, we're coming to a time of testing where really every day we're being tested. You're always presented with a choice because you have free will. This is a free will realm. But what I was shown is all things are permissible, but everything is not beneficial. All things, you can do whatever you want to do here, but understand that there are things that you can do and you will suffer the consequences and the repercussions of your action. So once you begin to understand how, how to stay under the covering by keeping these laws, like Yeshua said, living in harmony by being under the laws of nature, by keeping the laws of nature. Learn the laws of nature and you will be in harmony with everything. Your body will fall in line. The Essenes lived, they lived well over 120 years simply because of the way they lived their life.
Long time.
Very long time.
And
and
another,
and,
oh,
and
go
was
ahead.
in good health. I was just going to
And
say,
in
and
good
they were in,
health.
in
Yeah.
good health, right? Because it's not fun living past 120 in a wheelchair or something.
Oh,
You you want to
so
be able to
true.
enjoy.
Oh yeah, no, that's for sure. No, another benefit, of course, is also the fact that you're detoxing, is like you said, which is part of it, right?
Right,
You're being compassionate. You're not hurting another life form.
right,
Uh, all of that causes, of course, to raise your frequency. And
absolutely,
by raising your frequency, now you're touching, you're walking on earth, but you're in the world, but not of the world.
absolutely, exactly. You step out of, um, oh, how did they tell me? When you're in the matrix, you're literally in the fiction. You're in the fiction. When you step out of the matrix, you step into the truth. You step into the factual world, the real world. As long as you're in the matrix, you have to lead with your false self. That's one of the reasons why we have to do that ego work. That ego, the negative ego, that is your false self that you have to have in order to get around in the matrix. That's why when people begin to awaken and they start becoming enlightened, they lose their friends, they lose their job, everything that connected you to the 3D world, you lose it. The same things that you used to love to do, you no longer love to do those things because it was the false self that kept you there.
100%.
Mm-hmm.
Wow. I tell you, I mean, I'm praying that if just one person woke up right now
Mm-hmm.
listening to your message, this was all worth it, honestly.
Yes,
Um,
I think
but
so.
but I know more people have, because a lot of the listeners, you know, um, a lot of them who tune into my show are
Mm-hmm.
they're in different levels, with I mean, I have a
Right,
mixed audience, but the reason that I started Shattering the Matrix was exactly for that reason, is to bring out all the stuff that is keeping us here and being able to bring the information that's going to help us shatter it and
right.
get us out of this so-called prison, that especially of the karmic cycle, right? This constantly having to come back and
Right.
suffering and thinking that this is the way it's supposed to be, and it's not.
It's not.
Yeah, amazing.
Yeah, so I hope that it hits people in the right place. Like bypass the carnal mind, because it's the carnal mind will talk you out of it. The carnal mind will give you every excuse and every reason why this doesn't make sense. But like I said, it's for the ones who are ready. And if we look at this like a school, you go through these different levels, and your audience, even though they're on the awakening path, they may be on different levels. The
Sure.
ones who are ready to graduate out of here, to actually get out of here right now, those are the ones, like I said, it's gonna bypass the carnal mind and go right to the heart, and it'll make sense. And some people will make the change immediately. Some people may have to, jump on the quest of going and researching, because that is what I had to do. I had to go research, but I was being guided through my heart. I was listening to the words of Yeshua, and I was like, I need to know more. Where are his words? And as I dug deeper and deeper, I came across the Essenes. And when I tell you, when I was reading it, it's like you mentioned before, I have taught this before. So when I was reading it, it was like a remembrance. Like I kept saying, I don't know how I know this, but I know this. I don't know how I know it. I've never seen this before. But when I came across these things, I knew who they were. You know what I mean?
Yep.
I knew who they were. The same way I knew who Yeshua was, not the false Jesus, because I could look in the Bible and say, he said that, he didn't say that, he didn't say that, he said that. I can look through the Bible and see that. Some of the true words were sprinkled in there because of the resonance. I could feel it.
Mm-hmm.
And that was how I was led out of the Bible. And I wanted to say this too before we end. Santos Bonacci, who I love, by the way, I feel like he's in a scene. Even though he can go off on his tangents, he said something back when I was learning this, and it meant so much to me because it was exactly how I was feeling. He said, the Bible is there to enslave the fool, but it's there to enlighten the wise. And I was like,
Interesting.
that is so profound because
Yep.
it's true. Because I couldn't understand. I was seeking, right? I was in the Bible seeking, and I couldn't understand why I would show other people. I was like, look, right here. I would show them the scriptures and everything, and it would make so much sense. It would be so clear to me, and they would not get that full understanding of what I was trying to show them. And I began to realize that book was alive, that book was
Yeah.
literally, it was changing as I was changing. So I was becoming more conscious. And as you become more conscious, the truth begins to open up to you. And
Exactly.
that's how I got out there. And people think, they feel like it has to be one way or the other. They either believe it or they don't. And I was saying, I was shown that both paths are here. And the path that you take depends on you. If you stay in that book and you're not seeking with a pure heart, you're not seeking to find the truth, and you're not seeking, you're just going because you want to be, spoon fed by your pastor every week and feel good, have a good feel good message and leave. Pastor preach the good message, and then you go back to your carnal ways on Monday. You'll stay in the same place. You'll be over on the side that get the exoteric understanding of the Bible. But when you seek with your heart and you start reading and you're looking and you're trying to get, I used to read the scriptures and I was like, what is this? I'm reading the words, but what does this mean? And I started looking and get my lexicon, and I had all this stuff and I was searching.
Yeah.
And as I was searching, because I was searching for a pure heart, and I was like, why does it feel like there's such a disconnect from the Lord? And then I found out. But it was only because I took the steps to dig, because I really wanted to know. Some people don't want to know, but like I said, there's two paths in that Bible, two books in that Bible. And the one that plays out for you, the one that presents itself, will be the one based on your consciousness level. So I can look in the Bible and I can show so much truth, so many nuggets in there that shows you how to live your life right. It's in there.
Yep. You have to have the eyes to see, but it's a
Right,
different type of vision, right?
right.
Yeah. So true. For the few minutes that we have left, Monet, just
Mhm.
wanted to see if you could explain to the best of your ability, what does it mean when you say, to get us prepared and all that, to get out of here like right now?
Mhm.
What does that mean to you? How does that, you know, come across, or how does that unfold for people? I
Um,
mean, are you talking about an ascension? Are you talking about a rapture? Are you just talking about maybe, not coming back and through this karmic cycle? What does that mean to you when you're
Okay,
saying like that?
got it. Okay. So I don't mean the rapture because I debunked the rapture, right? There's no rapture because there's nobody coming for you. This goes back to ascension. Now, people think that it's ascension. It's not. I was told it's actually ascension
Hmm.
because you go from within. You have to do inner work. You go through the heart. That's how you get out. So right now, because we are at the end of an epoch, we're at the end of a cycle. So not to go too far back to how this all began, but these entities that have control over this realm have a certain amount of time to do something. It's almost like they're playing a game, and at the end of the game, they get the spoils of the war. They get the spoils. They get to keep the ones who decided to align with them. And the ones who decide to align with universal law and principle, God's law, get to leave. That's where we are now. You get to leave. Now there are individuals who are going to recycle back because they're still in alignment with the beast system. And as long as you're in alignment with that system, you'll continue to come back. Now, even though we may see it as a nefarious thing, these are lessons sometimes that the soul needs. I mean, your highest guidance knows what you need more than you do. So if you still have to be developed in a certain area, you may have to come back several times in order for it to, to make sense to you that, hey, I have to change. I can't wait for a savior. Now, I'm not going to be raptured and saved out of here. There's no Anunnaki coming to kill the oppressor for me. There's none of that stuff happening. I have to make these changes from within. So when I speak about getting out of here, like I said, I always give the disclaimer that I'm not talking to everyone, but I could be. It's based on
Hmm.
you. It's based on you. This truth is for anybody who's ready to devote the time, the energy into actually making the change to be a better person, because you cannot evolve out of here and be state with a carnal mind thinking that it's okay to eat other animals. My highest guidance was like, we don't do that, baby. You don't you don't we don't we don't put
Oh,
that,
God.
you know you don't get that out your mouth. You know how you would tell a toddler, get that out your mouth. You don't eat that.
So true.
So it may take a minute for that to settle in your heart and in your spirit for you to develop into a new creation. You literally have to become a new creation to get out. So
Okay.
that's what I mean.
Okay. So let's go back to that for a second. So
Mm-hmm.
get out. I'm going to, hone in on that. It's just so that people,
Yes.
because again, we have people in all different kinds of levels.
Right.
So when you're speaking about we get to leave, you get to
No.
get out.
Right. Okay. I
What
know exactly where you're going. Okay.
does this mean the death process? What does this mean to
Okay.
the regular person?
It can be. Oh, okay. So when I say leave, I don't necessarily mean physically get up and leave and go to another planet. The leaving, I know some people, I mean, I remember when I didn't have clarity on it. I was thinking, I was like, okay, we're going to get picked up and we're going to go to heaven on a cloud. But what happens is through your consciousness, as your frequency rises, as your consciousness rises, you literally change your reality. So it's not as if we're going to get in a vehicle and go somewhere. You're going to change your reality by doing the inner work. So again, this goes back to, this can be your prison or it can be your paradise. Our job is to turn it from a prison planet and turn ourselves from being a slave to being a sovereign divine being. And that change happens from within. But your physical reality will literally change to match your frequency, because everything that you see externally is simply a reflection of what you have inside, internal. So that's why you have to do the work. Nobody's coming and going to take you to heaven. You have to create heaven. But I think that's a part of the test. Like I said, if this is a school and you get to the point to where it's time to graduate, that's our exam. Our final exam is using what you've gained through all these lifetimes, using the wisdom that you've gained through, your experiences, through all of these things, and through the help of your highest guidance, and taking that and manifesting your heaven.
All right. So is that manifestation of your heaven, obviously? Is it
Right.
on an individual basis where
Yes.
everybody is having their own
Yes.
individual reality experience? You're creating your own reality, or is it on a
Yes.
collective?
Both, because your reality is within another reality. So there's a collective consciousness, right? You heard of the collective consciousness?
Of
There's
course.
a collective consciousness that everybody is experiencing at the same time. But you also have your own, they say your own little universe within another universe. So you can affect change. So in other words, I can look on my television and I can see what the collective consciousness is going through. I can see what's happening on the world stage. That's the collective consciousness. But I can tap out of that. I can tap out of that by doing the inner work, and then I can experience something completely different. That's why I've told the people that I've worked with in the past, you'll see it happen. You'll see it happen because you're still a part of the collective consciousness, but you won't experience it if you do the work. You want to experience it. I can look on my portal, which is my iPhone, and see what's happening across overseas. That's happening on the world stage, the collective consciousness. But I won't take part in it because I've done work to raise my frequency so that I'm no longer a part of it. I don't have to actually be in it. In other words, in the world, not of it. Like you
Mm-hmm.
just mentioned, same
Mm-hmm.
thing.
All right. So I'm going to take that to another level here.
Okay.
You have to understand I'm doing this for the benefit here of the audience,
Yes.
right? All right.
Yes.
So let's say I am of that person, which, I can disengage,
Mm-hmm.
and raise my frequency, raise my consciousness, and it's no longer affecting me personally.
Mm-hmm.
So that I have this inner peace,
Yes.
walking in, I'm in the world, but not of the world.
Right.
Does that does that take away the fact that I'm in that place that of serenity and whatnot? Does that take away from the fact that the world collectively is experiencing negativity and nefarious events and things? um how can that I've removed myself from that now, I know that I can do that and be objective now, and I can work in a much higher level,
Right.
but the world in itself is still collectively, quote unquote, burning. All right.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So how do we fix that? Because there are people, again, children that are suffering, right, in different
Mm-hmm.
parts of the world through different nefarious acts.
Mm-hmm.
Um, just there's suffering everywhere. So yes, I'm not suffering, but yes,
Right.
the world collectively is suffering. So how do we address that?
Okay, so this goes back to what I said initially, which was we can't change the matrix the way we want to, the way we think that we should be able to stop all the things that are happening. You'll never be able to change it because this is their system. This is their system. Remember, we're not even supposed to be here. So this is their hell realm. But what we can do, I think, on an individual level, even when you begin your inner work and you start changing your reality, I think the work that we're doing here by being able to get the message out and hopefully having people understand that every person has to make an individual change in order to affect it as a whole. People have to wake up to it. I think exposing the darkness, like bringing it out into the light, also helps nullify it. But to a certain degree, and if I later on I get clarity on it and it takes us in another direction, I'll come back and correct myself. But to a certain degree, like I said, this is the system that we're in, and as long as there are individuals who are going against universal law, they're going to fall under that system, and they're going to be victims of that system. So we can look at it and we know the truth, but there's only so much that we can do. We can't change the whole thing. We can only change, we can start here. We can change our reality and try to push that out, by speaking our truth and telling people this is what you need to do. But like I said, I mean, humans are humans. There are individuals who will hear this and they won't care at all. They won't care at all. So
Good
that
point.
system is still going to be, it's all, I hate to say it, but it's always going to be there as long as we have people who enjoy the Matrix, because there are people who enjoy the Matrix. Some of them.
Oh, sure.
Yeah, they enjoy the Matrix. And so the people that don't come in alignment with those divine laws are what keeps the Matrix propped up. It can't work without us.
Mm-hmm.
But like I said, we can go on the top of the mountain like Yeshua and try to bring this truth and tell as many people as we can. But until they do the work, that system is always going to be in place. So
I see this almost like like we need the 100th monkey effect type of thing
right,
where
right,
we need enough people
right.
to do the work, the inner work.
Well, this is what's going to happen now. Not to interrupt you, but this is
No.
how we started the conversation, which was what's about to take place. What's about to happen is they're about to have such a horrendous, rude awakening, right? A lot of these things that have been hidden, a lot of these things that have been happening again right under the surface of our reality, right?
Mm-hmm.
The illusion, because that's the veil that's over everybody's eyes. Well, that veil is about to be ripped off, and they're now going to see the world for the evil place that it is. Now, that on a collective scale, that's what's going to happen on a collective scale. That's going to give the collective consciousness the opportunity to change the way they do things. Remember when I said, right now we're bickering amongst ourselves about things like race and color and this, that, religion. By the time they finish walking through what's about to take place, and they realize that this beast hates all of us. We
Yeah.
all have the same enemy. When they come together, when they realize that it takes all of us, unity consciousness, it takes all of us, when they come together, again, compassion, having love for your brother, regardless of if he looks like you or not, having love for your brother the way you have love for yourself, having love for other children the way you have love for your children. When you come to that reality, that realization, that's when the collective consciousness will change. So they're about to get the opportunity to change that collectively. We, the ones who woke up, start waking up in 2012, we're just a little bit ahead of them. You know what I mean? We're just a little
Absolutely.
bit ahead of them. We started going through the rabbit holes, going down the rabbit holes, and we suffered alone. We suffered by ourselves because I didn't have anybody to talk to when I was discovering these heinous acts that they were doing. I didn't
Exactly.
have anybody to talk to. So they're going to experience the same thing that we experienced. They're going to experience it collectively, because again, that brings me back to the 8 o'clock news, or whatever time the news comes on, when they show what's going on overseas. And all they show, pay attention to how they show you the children, because that's what's going to have to happen collectively. Humanity is about to have their heart broken.
Yep.
They're going to have their heart broken when they realize what is happening.
And the good news is that those of us who woke up in 2012 and
Mm-hmm.
before that, right? A lot of
Right,
us were kind of like almost born knowing. A lot of
right.
us were. But we'll be right there.
To help them.
God willing, help, yeah, to be
Right,
able to help push everybody through that finish line.
right.
And God willing, we'll be able to hopefully bring heaven back to earth, hopefully.
Absolutely,
Amen.
absolutely.
And just by the way, those people that don't like the word amen, I have to tell you, amen is an affirmation.
Mm-hmm.
And that means that I'm in total alignment with that divine concept or that
Yes.
divine information. So don't bring any other definitions to it or any other
Mm-hmm.
ideas to that. So
That's
I
right.
stand with that. Anyway, Monai, it's oh my goodness, you are just so special and so needed. I thank you again for being on this show, bringing out this amazing, important, crucial information that is just so needed right now.
Thank you.
And can you please give the audience how they can find you and your website and all that again, please?
Yes, absolutely. You can find me at Divine Alliance. What is it? Divine Alliance LLC
LLC.
.com. Yes, .com. We've changed it a few times. That is my website. But please, please, please go down to the bottom where it says community. We just started our own social media network because I got tired of the censoring, of the restrictions, the shadow banning. It was ridiculous. So we have started our own social media community in the last month. So if you could please come join, we have different levels and you can just come in on the free side and add your energy, add your wisdom, come in and make some posts. And we would just love that because we have to create something new. We can't continue to fight big tech. That's their platforms.
Yeah,
So we can't change their platforms. Once again, like the Matrix, we can't change the Matrix. We have to change ourselves. So we're creating something new and something better for us, where we can speak our minds, we can connect with one another. Because I've lost so many divine connections because of shadow banning and having my groups cut off and things of that nature. But now we own it. So now we can start building from here.
there you go. Build a right community,
That's right.
together like hearts and like spirit and everything. So fantastic, Monet. Thank you again for being in the show and sharing all your wisdom, your insight, your knowing. And audience, we will catch you next week. And hopefully, Monet, you will be part of the next show available. Maybe it won't be next week, but you will be back, right?
Yes, yes, because we have to talk about solutions, some more solutions.
Absolutely.
We have some more things that we can do.
I love it. I love it. Thank you again. And audience, will catch each other next week. Good night.
Thank you. Good
Thank
night.
you. Bye bye.